Okay, so we're back. We're going to go over this little applet that's online that helps maybe understand the photoelectric effect a little bit better. We're going to try at least. And so what I'm looking at here is there's a metal surface right here and a light, and I can change a lot of different things about the light, including the frequency of the light and how much of the light is on the surface and all sorts of things. And we're going to just watch the electrons eventually, hopefully, get released from the surface. So right now the light is in a very low, a long wavelength, low frequency, low energy mode. And there's almost no intensity. There's actually zero intensity, which means 0 photons are actually being released. But if I take the intensity and I increase it, then you can see there's a whole bunch of photons. All of these, although there's a whole bunch of them, none of them have a whole lot of energy because they're all infrared light. So I can increase the intensity already all the way up to 100%, and I'm still not going to get any electrons because there's just these photons just don't have enough energy to release the electrons. So what I can do is I'll bring the intensity down a little bit, and then I'm going to actually increase the energy of the light. So I'm going to go from the infrared into the red. So now these are red light, which are more energetic, but still not energetic enough to release those electrons. I haven't yet reached the work function of that surface. So if I keep moving up the scale, and I'm increasing my energy, so now I'm into kind of yellows and oranges, right? And then I'm going to go into there's yellow light, still not intense, still not energetic enough. And again, if I go all the way up in intensity, a lot of photons, but not energetic enough to release those electrons. So the electrons that are in the surface right now, they might be they're getting a little more energetic, they're absorbing this energy, they're vibrating a little more in place, but they're really not able to actually exit the surface yet. So I'm going to keep moving, and eventually I'm going to reach the frequency that's needed to actually eject the photons. And for this surface, it seems like it's somewhere in the blue range. You can see right there for the blue, somewhere around 452 nanometers, whatever energy that is related to that type of light, that's what releases the electrons. So that, we would say somewhere around there is the work function for that surface. Now, if I make it more intense, I'm going to have a lot more electrons released because there's a lot more photons hitting the surface. And if I bring the intensity down, I'll have a lot less electrons released. And if I bring it completely down, then there'll be barely any electrons released. Notice that even if I bring the intensity all the way up, although there are a lot more electrons released, they're not any more energetic than the other ones. So there's just a lot of them, but they're not really super energetic electrons. Now, if I go up in frequency of the light, you will see that the electrons get released and they move faster. So if I move up in light energy, you get electrons released and they move faster. I'm going to bring the intensity of this light down a little bit so I get less photons hitting the surface. If I go into the UV range, the electrons are moving even faster, right? Okay, so we're going to watch a graph now of electron energy versus light frequency. So right now I'm down here. I'm in a frequency that's pretty low, and I'm going to start moving. But you'll notice that as I move, this little blue dot is going to move along the screen, along the graph, but nothing's going to happen because there's no energy, there's no electrons released until I hit near that work function. Wherever that work function is, right at that point, wherever it happens to be, right there, that's where you're now going to have electrons released. And instead of this line staying down here flat, now as I move up in frequency, my electrons get more and more and more energetic. Okay, and it goes up like a line. So that's going to be the graph, that's going to be the energy of the electrons versus the frequency. This frequency right down here at the bottom, right at the beginning, that's the cutoff frequency. That's where that happens. Okay, so that's kind of the photoelectric effect in a nutshell. Now we need to do some work with that, and I want to look a little bit more at that graph as we, in a little bit more detail. But that's pretty much the photoelectric effect, more or less, in a nutshell. Okay.